Yo, what's going on, guys? And of course, we got to talk about the latest in the Kevin Durant saga. And some of the news you'll see us discuss today will be a little bit later in the video. Right now, we're going to talk about the latest, the newest, what we know going on with Kevin Durant. And that is, there are three teams that seem to be engaging the most in a Durant trade. So before we start today's video, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on what do you guys expect for a Durant trade. Right now, we're hearing that the most engaged teams are the Rockets. Yeah, baby. Then we're also hearing that the Miami Heat are a team to keep an eye out as the other most engaged team. And drum roll, please, the Timberwolves. So let me read you the report right here to my right, coming from Shams Charania. The Phoenix Suns are ramping up Kevin Durant trade talks, pushing for a deal before the NBA draft. Right now, the Rockets, Heat, Timberwolves are the main teams in the mix. Sources say, according to Shams Charania of ESPN, that the Suns have fielded interest from 6 to 8 teams, but the last 2 days have seen traction, serious traction, develop from Houston, Miami, and Minnesota. We did talk about San Antonio, New York, Dallas, and the Clippers in past videos being interested. However, these teams are the ones, the Heat, the Rockets, the Timberwolves, with the most impressive offers or the most serious offers. Multiple offers are on the table. Phoenix is locked in on these three. Durant's contract adds a wrinkle. He's on an expiring $54.7 million deal. And if he does go to a team, they have to decide if this is going to be a 1-year shot at a title, sort of a rental, or are they willing to pay up for an extension? And because of his age, he can only do, I believe, like a 2-year extension. The situation draws parallels to the Raptors' Kawhi Leonard gamble, which ultimately paid off with a championship. Front offices chasing Durant are weighing the risk and reward of a short-term. All right, sorry about that as I dropped something right there. As we were saying that this situation draws parallels to the Raptors situation when they took the gamble on Kawhi Leonard. Now, obviously, any front office that is deciding or weighing the risk and reward of trading for Kevin Durant, I think the biggest thing is that you're deciding if you're going to give him an extension or not, and how much of your team you're giving up to get him, as 2026 could be, a really good year in terms of free agency. But let me read you a quote that Shams Charania said on the Pat McAfee show. Quote, "There's some real traction on trade scenarios. About 6 to 8 teams have reached out and negotiations have picked up." End quote. Phoenix wants to move fast, with a deal likely before draft night on June 25th. All eyes are on Houston, Miami, and Minnesota's as the front runners. We've talked about this before. Houston's deal is probably, if they want to keep Jalen Green, they can do the deal around Dillon Brooks, Jock Landale, Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepherd, like basically that. But there's another deal you could do: Jabari Smith, Jock Landale, Cam Whitmore, and Dillon Brooks. That gets it done, and then give them back their 25 and 27 first-round picks. Minnesota, it's either Naz Reid, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, or Mike Conley. Or there's another deal being floated out where it's Rudy Gobert, Dante DiVincenzo, and Rob Dillingham. I personally don't like that. The only young guys I would give up are Leonard Miller and Josh Minott. Miami, it's either Andrew Wiggins with Terry Rozier being dumped in Brooklyn as a salary dump, and then you send like Jaime Jaquez with Andrew Wiggins and maybe draft capital of the Suns. The other one could be Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez, Andrew Wiggins, maybe Nikola Jovic, but to the Suns straight up for Kevin Durant. And yeah, like I think San Antonio is either Keldon Johnson packaged with Devin Vassell or Devin Vassell with Harrison Barnes, and then you throw in like Malachi Brannan and Blake Wesley if you want. But those are all the deals. The video we have coming up right here is what we discussed yesterday. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. Also, should this be like a little like further till? I feel like the reason why is because if we do it too far, it starts to like look weird. But I'm trying to get this to maybe be like that. Does that look better if we're like speaking there? Because I do like how we built this like little studio look. It looks cool. It's nice. Now, I can only move my arm this far before it goes off screen, but that's fine.
One note I wanted to add after we, courted this was I think Houston can blow any offer out of the water. They can basically come up with a combination of packages with draft capital and young players or salaries because they can. I'm not saying they're going to trade these players, but these are all the players that in whatever combination you want to put them, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Dylan Brooks, Cam Whitmore, Jock Landale, technically Tari Eason, and there's a few other smaller contracts you could say get thrown in there, but even hypothetically, I doubt, because supposedly they're going to decline Fred VanVleet's option and then he'll resign. But even Fred VanVleet could be built around on the deal if they picked up the option, which I doubted. The Rockets deal I said earlier is the more likely Rockets deal. Now, I think the second most likely team is Miami. I think the deal that the Timberwolves are offering probably, as I said, either some combination of the Julius Randle, Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, or Mike Conley. I know ESPN is saying that it could be a Rudy Gobert and Dante DiVincenzo and Mr. Billingham, which I just think if Minnesota were the team to do this deal, it'd be fully out of desperation because there's no reason to do this. And if Tim Conley does this, it's because he feels like not Mike Conley, but he feels either Rudy Gobert or Julius Randle or Naz Reid isn't worth the money or the extension, and that they're going to be able to replace him, and that they need another firing power next to Ant. I think either the Rockets or the Heat have the most to gain. If I'm the Heat, I do not include Khalil Ware. Like, I would trade Jovic before trading Ware. And that's because if you can run a lineup where it is Ware, Durant, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero. Now, in free agency, finding a point guard is going to be the biggest thing. And that's a huge question mark in all of this. So, I mean, again, if I'm Durant, I think the best situation that's going to be able to technically give up the least amount of stuff would be the Miami Heat. Miami, I think, gives him the best chance to win, but they do have the hardest time getting there. Minnesota might be too much of a desperation move on their part, and they could gut their roster. Houston can give the best offer without hurting their depth, but we don't know if they can get over the hill yet. And I don't know if this is the deal that gets them over said hill.